Welcome back to another episode of the Broad Street Sports Podcast featuring Zachary Chaby, and today I'll be giving you my wildcard reactions and my Cotton Bowl and Orange Bowl reactions between Notre Dame and Penn State and Ohio State and Texas, and my thoughts on the College Football Championship, who I have winning and what I expect to happen in that game, and then my thoughts on the divisional round, who I have winning in that pretty much. So starting with the wild card in the NFL, we had Houston and Chargers face off in the first game this week, and Houston was able to get the win 32-12. The Chargers had a chance in this game. They had an early start where they had to kick a field goal, and then Houston's first offensive play, they turned the ball over. And then after that, it was all you wrote for the Chargers. The Chargers weren't able to get anything going. They tried their best to, but the 4 interceptions Justin Herbert threw were a drive killers for sure. And just overall, the Chargers weren't able to get anything going. And that goes on the fault of Justin Herbert, in my opinion. Herbert was one of the best quarterbacks this season. He had 3 interceptions the entire year, but then manages to throw 4. It's unbelievable, in my opinion. He has to play better if they want to win playoff games. I know he hasn't been set up with the best head coach and the best players, but if you can get him those players he needs, like a wide receiver, because you got him a coach in Jim Harbaugh this offseason. Now get some good offensive linemen, good wide receivers around them, and keep that defense intact. And then Chargers could be a real threat next year, in my opinion. So, and then for Houston, just when no one expected them to win, they came to play again, and they played huge in the second half. That's what led them to the win. And overall for Houston, they go on to Kansas City. We'll see if they can stop the Chiefs from a 3-peat, but I feel it's very unlikely. So, moving on to the next game that was played later that night at 8:30 on Prime Video, it was the Ravens versus Steelers. This score looks close, but this game was not close whatsoever. The Steelers, I want to talk about this first and foremost. The way that Steelers' effort was shown in the first half is inexcusable. If the Eagles were to play like that for the remainder of the playoffs, or if they played like that against the Packers, I would have been done. That is terrible. It's inexcusable. For Mike Tomlin to be known as such a great head coach, he did not have those players ready. They did not care whatsoever in the first half, and that's exactly why they went down 21-0. They didn't want to play. They didn't feel like they had to play, and that's exactly why they finished the season with 4 straight losses, and why Mike Tomlin, I don't know if he's the head coach for them that can lead them to a Super Bowl, because they just don't know what to do when it gets to the playoffs. They'll have a winning season, but they'll never make it past the first round. I mean, this is another year the Steelers have not won a playoff game. They haven't won a playoff game since 2016, and that was with Ben Roethlisberger, who retired a couple years ago. But at the same time, the Steelers need to figure out what they're doing, because both their quarterbacks are free agents. Are they finally going to try to get their franchise guy? And they have to find a guy to get next to George Pickens. And then is Jaylen Warren going to be the number 1 back with Najee Harris being a free agent? A lot of questions for the Steelers to answer. And this wildcard game was just not the way to start their offseason. But talking about the Ravens here, the Ravens played exceptional football. Their defense was great. Lamar looked like he very much is the front runner for MVP the way he's been playing. And Derrick Henry, that dynamic duo is very scary and can easily lead the Ravens to the Super Bowl. Lamar Jackson looked great. Derrick Henry looked great. And without Zay Flowers, Lamar was able to spread the ball to guys like Isaiah Likely, Nelson Aguilar, Rashad Bateman, and Mark Andrews. The offense was firing all cylinders, and they barely had to do much in the second half. And the Steelers tried to make a run, but it wasn't enough, as the Ravens were able to get a win. And they set themselves up for a great matchup against the Buffalo Bills this Sunday at 6:30. I'm looking forward to that. That could be the playoff game of the year, in my opinion. So, moving on to the Sunday slate of games, the aforementioned Bills just obliterated the Broncos. The Broncos started off nice with a great drive with a 41-yard touchdown from Bo Nix to his Oregon teammate Troy Franklin. And really, other than that, the Bills just dominated this game. Josh Allen looked great, throwing touchdown passes left and right. The run game was great with James Cook, and their defense made stops. And for Bo Nix, it's tough. He's a rookie quarterback at the end of the day, and it's tough going into an environment like that, your rookie season, even making the playoffs. I admire him for that, because what he's done this season for the Broncos is great and has set up a great future for them overall. But the Bills were the heavy favorites in this game, and they won this game pretty easily. And like I said, they set themselves up for a great matchup with the Ravens. In my honest opinion, whoever wins that game could realistically beat the Chiefs if they were to beat the Texans and go to the Super Bowl. This is the only 2 teams I think stand a chance against the Chiefs and stopping them in a 3-peat when it comes to the AFC. There's one team I think that can. There's 2 teams I could think in the NFC that can stop the Chiefs, but A total of 4 teams that I think can stop the Chiefs. It's the Ravens, the Bills, the Eagles, and the Lions. But in the AFC side, you got to think about it. The Ravens and Bills, if they want to stop the Chiefs dynasty, they got to try to get in the AFC Championship game. But overall, a great win for the Bills. The two MVP candidates are about to go off this Sunday. Like I said, it can be a great game. And for the Broncos, a lot to look forward to next season, and definitely got a lot of great during this season for sure. Moving on to the next game, the Eagles were able to beat the Packers 22-10. Watching this game as a Birds fan, I wasn't happy with the performance. I was very happy with the defense's performances. 3 interceptions on Jordan Love, 4 total turnovers. We started this game on fire. We asserted the dominance right then and there, literally on the first kick. Oren Burks absolutely destroys Keyshawn Nixon. We get the ball. I don't know if it's a questionable call, but at the end of the day, we got it, and we scored a touchdown off of it. And Jalen Hurts stood in the pocket. It just shows how great our offensive line is. It easily is the best in the league, and was able to deliver a strike to Jahad Dotson. And the Packers tried to make their run in the second half, but it wasn't enough, as the Eagles just showed their attrition the entire game, just were dominating, just a more physical team, and that's why they won the game like this. I know the score was close, but the way the Eagles were just able to out-physical them, make the Packers tired. A lot of players got hurt for the Packers, but it was just the physicality of the Birds that were able to get them this win. So, great win for the Eagles. Got a great matchup against the Rams next week. I'm looking forward to that. That could be a really, really good matchup, and it's predicted to be snow, so a snow playoff game is always fun to see. And for the Packers, a tough way to end the season for Jordan Love and them, but they just need to look in the mirror and realize what's ahead of them, because they have a great future. They just need to stay healthy and get some pieces in there for Jordan Love, because he could be a good quarterback, but at the same time though, you gotta provide him with him. But also something I want to talk about. I've seen a lot of people talk about how Jalen Hurts did not have a good performance, but last time I checked, everyone saw what Jordan Love did, and everyone saw what Justin Herbert did. Jalen turned over the ball 0 times, but it's a bad performance. The last time I checked, when is winning a bad thing? Winning is a great attribute in today's league, and people don't understand that enough. Jalen doesn't have to be Superman out there. He just needs to do what he needs to do. That's why you bring in a guy like Saquon Barkley. That's why you have receivers like A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert. You had those targets for a reason. And the people saying A.J. Brown wants out, that is a bunch of bullshit, in my opinion. Excuse my language, but still, if he wanted out so bad, he would have made it obvious a while ago. It's so obvious that the media hates the Eagles, and I'm okay with that. If they want to keep talking, that's very fine. We've proved many times this season why we deserve to be where we are right now. And I feel like we can prove to the doubters again. If we go beat LA, we can beat Detroit, in my opinion. So, but overall, that's just how I feel about what everyone's been talking. Because last time I checked, one is winning, not a great stat. Winners always get remembered. Brady put up good stats, but he was also a winner. You think people, for example, people talk about Aaron Rodgers. He puts up great stats, but how many Super Bowls has he won? He's only won 1 in his entire career. When it comes down, he's going to be a Hall of Famer for sure. But at the same time, though, he will not be known as one of the great winners because he just couldn't win the big game. And the Manning brothers is another great example. Both of them finished with the exact same Super Bowls, but Peyton put up even better stats. I'm just saying, all it is winning matters in this league, and people need to realize that more than they do. So, moving on to the wild card round, the Commanders and the Buccaneers. The Washington Commanders just keep blowing everyone's expectations out the window. Another close victory, literally on a game-winning field goal. They've had 6 straight games that they've won in the final 10 seconds, and this one was by Zane Gonzalez, doinking it off the right upright and in. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had control of this game, but they just lost it after Baker Mayfield had a misconnection with Jalen McMillan, the rookie receiver from Washington, and that was just the turning point of the game, in my opinion. And that's why the Commanders win. Jaden Daniels, he's a special kind of player, in my opinion. He's going to cause a big threat to the NFC East and the rest of the league for years to come, especially as the Commanders start to get better. But overall in this game, Washington just keeps blowing everyone's expectations out the window, and just a great win for them because they got a battle against Detroit next week. If they are somehow able to beat Detroit, I would be shocked, in my opinion. So, a tough way for the Bucs season to end, but the Commanders, let's see how far they can keep this playoff, just keep this season going, in my opinion, because this season's been great for them, but they feel like they're not done, which is the most scary part about it. So, Moving on to the final game we had. It was the Monday Night Football game, the game that got moved to Arizona. Like I said, prayers to everyone in LA. Hope they're doing okay. I mean, this is just terrible what's happening. So hopefully everything gets cleared up as the time goes on, and just prayers to everyone out there. I know it's really tough. So, but talking about the game itself, the Rams came out early and they just pretty much took the game as a whole. If you look at it, the Vikings scored 9 points. They had the same amount of points as times they got sacked. Sam Darnold proved that he is not a good quarterback in this league. I know he had a great season and all, but he might have threw his contract right out the window the way he's played the past 2 weeks. I think they put up 9 points back-to-back weeks, and it's just terrible. But at the same time, though, if you want to be a starting quarterback in this league, you got to make the plays when it matters most. And Sam Darnold wasn't able to. He just held the ball way too long, and that's resulting in the Rams getting so many sacks. And then Ahkello Witherspoon getting a strip sack fumble that Jared Verse recovered and took all the way back for a touchdown. So overall, though, the Rams, they got their eyes set on a great matchup, like I said, with the aforementioned Eagles. But overall in this game, the Vikings just really didn't stand a chance from the start. They tried to make some type of comeback, but it really didn't matter in the end. For the Rams, they made their message known. So definitely for the Rams, they're a team to be reckoned with because they had the playoff experience and they have a great coach team with Sean McVay and all them. But overall, the Rams got the win, and the Vikings just a great season for them comes to an end in just traumatic fashion. So we're gonna move over to college football now. Talk about those games, and then we'll talk about the next rounds for both teams, for both sports. We had the Orange Bowl that started off this great weekend of football playoff football, which we had Notre Dame coming out against Penn State. This game, Penn State was dominating in the first half. Was up 10-3. Riley Leonard got hurt at the very end, and Steve Angeli had to come in, and he was able to lead Notre Dame on a nice drive to get them 3 on the board. But then in the second half, I mean, Penn State, they made their opportunities, but what sold them the most is Drew Aller. He played terrible in that game. He should have easily had 3 interceptions. The 2 interceptions that got taken off were picks that were penalties, and they got offsetted. So, but overall, Penn State, they had their opportunity to win this, and I'm not even blaming this game on James Franklin, in my opinion. It's more on Drew Aller. You've been the quarterback for this team the entire season, and you're not able to make a play when it matters most. And be honest with you, why are you calling a pass play? That's the bigger question here. You know your quarterback's been shaky all game, and you call that type of pass play. But if you're Drew Aller, you have to get rid of it. You cannot put the ball in harm's way with that much time remaining, because just like that, Notre Dame had plenty of time, great field position, were able to get their kicker into great field goal range to get the win for them. So overall, Penn State, a great season for them comes to end, and guys like Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren, that's who I feel bad for the most, and Nick Singleton, they all played great games, and especially for Abdul and Tyler Warren both declaring, they will go very high, and they've had great Penn State careers. And for Notre Dame, they just keep winning the big games, and Marcus Freeman's he's turning this football program around. I know they've been great in the past, but now they're legit threats now with the college football playoffs expanding to 12 teams. So next to the Cotton Bowl Classic, Ohio State was able to win it by 2 scores. Jack Sawyer had a huge strip sack fumble at the end of the game on Quinn Ewers that pretty much shielded. He took it all the way back 92 yards, which it was just a great defensive play. And Texas had their opportunities, but when Travion Henderson took that touchdown pretty much to end the half for Ohio State to go up 14-7, you kind of had this feel that Ohio State was just going to dominate, and that's exactly what they did in the second half and why they were able to get to the national championship. Ohio State's a good team. Will Howard's making plays. Jeremiah Smith barely had to do anything, and Ohio State still won. That's how scary this team can be. They got 2 great running backs in Quinshon Judkins and Travion Henderson, and their defense is one of the top of the top. So Caleb Downs, the aforementioned Jack Sawyer. So they got a great defense, and that's what was able to win in this game, and their offense just outbodied Texas. Quinn Ewers did not play great. He lost Isaiah Bond, or he lost Matthew Golden early in the game, and he wasn't able to come back. But he tried to get it to his other receivers, but it really didn't work out, and Texas kind of showed that they really didn't stand a chance like a powerhouse like Ohio State. So, but moving on to the divisional round slate of games, we got 4 games. We got, starting at 4:30, we got Texans and Chiefs, then we got Commanders and Lions, then we have Rams and Eagles, and Ravens and Bills. talking about the first game, Chiefs and Texans, sorry, that will be played Saturday 4:30 on ESPN. The Chiefs, their quarterback hasn't thrown a pass since Christmas, so it's going to be interesting to see how quick Mahomes can get back into game speed. I think he'll be just fine. He's the best quarterback in the league for a reason, so he's going to be able to adjust well and make the plays needed. And for the Texans, can they keep their streak going? They got at this point last year against the number one seed and just weren't able to make enough plays against Lamar and all of them to get the win. Can they do it against the Chiefs? Because the Chiefs' offense has, except for these past couple of weeks, has looked bad the entire season. It's not one of the best in the league for sure. But the Chiefs can make plays, and it's about to show that the Chiefs, can they turn up that intensity level in the playoffs, because they have history in their eyesight, and they can do it right here. It starts here in Arrowhead. The road to New Orleans and the AFC goes through Kansas City, and the past couple of years and last year it didn't, and they still were able to get there. So for the Chiefs, they just got to stick to what they've been doing the entire year. It's been working. Their defense has been one of the best in the league. And like I said, they got their eyes set on making history. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. And for Houston, can they make enough plays? Because they kept the game close a couple weeks ago in in Kansas City. But Tank Dell getting hurt in that game was huge. So it's going to see how much of an impact that will make. But overall, I think the Chiefs will ultimately win this game. They're just too good of a team, and I think they're going to raise up the level even more in the playoffs to get themselves the win. So I have the Chiefs winning. Moving on to the Saturday game that we played on Fox at 8 p.m. in Detroit. It's a huge game. Detroit versus the 6th seed Washington Commanders. The Lions have been rested for a little bit, but they're ready to go, and they're getting a huge piece back in David Montgomery, it looks like. And with the Commanders, like I said a couple minutes ago, can they keep this Cinderella season going? They've played well as of late. I know they've been in a lot of close games, but at the same time, if they're able to make the plays, they have a chance in this game. But I ultimately don't think the Lions are going to give them any opportunities. I think Aaron Glenn is going to stack the box, make it pretty much impossible for Daniels to get out of the pocket and run and make plays. And they're going to try their best to lock down Terry McLaurin and make Jaden Daniels run it with the running backs or get it to these other guys that they know they can clamp up single coverage. So I think the Lions defense will be able to handle Jaden Daniels enough for the Lions to pull out a little bit of a lead and win this game by a pretty good margin. I say maybe 13, 14 points, at least 2 scores in my opinion. I think the Lions win by. But overall, I think the Lions win. And the Commanders, if the season ends here, it's not a big deal. They've had a great season and a lot to build off for next season. So moving on to the Sunday slate of games, we got the Eagles and Rams playing on NBC at 3 p.m. Like I said, this game is predicted to have snow and be very cold, so I think that definitely benefits the Eagles definitely more than the Rams, because if you think about it, Matthew Stafford has played in the Dome his entire career between Detroit and the Rams, so it's going to be definitely interesting conditions to come out here and play. So, but I think this is a great matchup for the Eagles. We dominated them a couple weeks ago, 37-20. Saquon Barkley, that was his game. He ran for 255 yards, had 302 total yards from scrimmage, and we were just able to dominate. And we didn't even have Devontae Smith in that game. Jordan Mailata wasn't playing. Darius Slay wasn't playing. He got hurt. But overall, I think the Eagles will win this game. The Rams, they're going to give them a fight. Their offense is one of the best. But the way our defense played against Green Bay, it's easily, if not the best, one of the best in the league. So I think our defense will be enough to handle Stafford, maybe get a couple picks on him. And I think our offense will look better. Saquon will find better lanes to run through. And I think Jalen can be a way more efficient passer this week. So moving on to the divisional round, the Ravens and the Bills, the one game I've talked about that could be game of the playoffs, game of the year at this point. I think it's going to be a very good game. Both these teams are very good, and these are the top 2 MVP guys. So it's going to be interesting to see. But overall, in this game, I have the Buffalo Bills winning. I think I can put more trust into the game like this and with Josh Allen than I can Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen having the home field advantage in this situation, I think, will pay huge dividends. I think Lamar, he's going to get frustrated. He's going to get rushed a lot. I think they're going to have a way to contain Derrick Henry, and I think putting the ball in Lamar to pass, I think they'll be able to play great coverage, have one guy in the box for the QB spy, and just play well enough coverage where Lamar can't progress through his reads and can't get the RPO game going, because the way the Bills can win this game and completely shut down the Ravens is that they stop the RPO game, because that's what's gotten through. That's what's gotten them through the rest of the season after the Eagles game, and what got them through the Steelers game last week. The Bills find a way to stop the run-pass option with Lamar and Derrick Henry. I think they'll be just fine, because if you contain the box, like I said, keep Lamar in the pocket. He's not a great pocket passer. He can make the throws, but he's way better scrambling out the pocket and extending plays, and I think the Bills will be able to do that just fine and get themselves a nice maybe 4-point, 5-point win. But moving on to the college football championship game, I might go a little bit more in depth on this if I record tomorrow or Friday. But overall, looking at this game, these are two teams that deserve to be here. They played great all season and during the playoffs. But overall, looking at this game, I do think Ohio State is going to win just based on their defense. Both defenses play well, but I think Ohio State plays a little bit better when it matters the most. And I have more trust in Ohio State's offense than I do Notre Dame's. I mean, Notre Dame can run the ball efficiently with Jeremiah Love, who's just a freak of nature. And they have other guys like Jordan Faison, guys like that. And Riley Leonard can make plays, but I think Ohio State will know what to do. They'll put Caleb Downs in the box for sure, I think, to contain Riley Leonard from running and slow down Jeremiah Love a little bit, who's still a little banged up but still had a great game against Penn State. But overall, I think Ohio State's going to win just based off their being better in defense and offense, and I think that little margin they have in both, definitely more of a margin on offense than defense, I think that's ultimately what's going to win them this game. But really, other than that, that's going to wrap up today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, I might be recording tomorrow or Friday. Got to decide. So other than that, if I don't record, you guys have a good weekend. But we'll talk to you guys later. Have a good night.